So, Dee Dee, what are some of the keys to success? What's helped you through the Trigger Mastery Challenge so far?
Well, certainly having accountability partner, someone to maybe text and say, "Oh, I had to switch wrists," and having them tell you it's okay, so you don't feel like a loser.
Why is that important to you?
It's hard to be successful alone and without someone cheering you on, and so to have somebody else that you know that might be going through the same struggles, and particularly that you can encourage. When I have an opportunity to encourage somebody else, it lifts me up. And so I think that dual support is really important for success.
Lone wolves starve, and there's a reason why the strength of the wolf is in the pack and the strength of the pack is in the wolf. Having the right people around you that are going to support you and are going to uplift you, I found the exact same thing. It's hugely important for being successful. And yeah, we're all gonna goof it up, and we're gonna wind up putting that wristband on the other wrist. Somebody who's encouraging me to, hey, just don't beat yourself up. It happens, it's human. And how are you going to do it better next time? Key questions. When you deal with this issue again, how are you going to do it differently next time? And then you can rehearse this and figure out like what works best for you.
Well, and I was really surprised having that question come through from my support person saying, "How are you going to do this differently next time?" And I hadn't thought about that. But to really go back and go through the steps, how did I blow it? How could I have done it better next time? Gives me a conscious set of steps and action to be prepared and to be able to execute that when the time comes.
Yeah, we can't control other people's behavior, and we can't control what they when they deliberately try to push our buttons, or maybe they unintentionally push our buttons, but they do. And we can't control that, but we control how we deal with it.
So, one for me is when people are condescending, when I've made a suggestion or a statement, or I might suggest something I want to do. Someone will say, "Well, first of all, I don't like being called D." So then I get, "Really? D?" And that really sets me off. So,
And how do you deal with that?
well, I normally don't say anything, but I let my blood boil inside. And
And what does that do to you when the blood's boiling inside?
oh, it can trigger a headache. I'll have to go separate myself from the situation, but it can still be boiling for a while. And it's going to affect my future interactions until I get over it. Really executing the three-step process may not change the other person, but it's going to stop my triggering and my getting upset, raising my blood pressure to crazy dumb, and letting me intentionally not react, but I can certainly control how I react inside to it, and I can certainly resolve my inner anger.
So, and so can you give me an example of, so you say something and then the person says, D, really?
Yeah, it's a little more condescending than that.
Okay. And what have you found that's worked for you? So
Uh,
you've already said, so sorry, but you've already said that just like letting it fester and getting frustrated, lashing
mhm.
out, that doesn't work. If you just sit there and take it, then it just creates an expectation that people can just walk all over you. So what have you found successful? What's working for you?
So actually, I just did this exercise, and that scenario happened, and I told them myself, triggered, and I downshifted, and I communicated that that was not the best way to communicate. Can we try that again? And in this particular case, it just escalated on the other party, right? And so I had an expectation that there would be a rephrase and we could start the conversation over. But that didn't happen. And what I was able to do is just say, "Stop, that's okay." And I can choose to respond in a different way inside. So I'm not going to let this ruin my day, give me a stomach ache, have a headache, and continue. I can control how I respond to it. And so doing that changed everything.
Well, one of the things that works for me when somebody is like cutting me off in traffic or puts my life in danger when I'm riding a bike, I used to get really angry and kind of lash out. And now I'm just like, that person's probably either having a really bad day or has just had a really bad or entitled life and is taking it out on the world. And if they're acting like a jerk here, they're probably acting like a jerk in many other cases. And I just feel bad for them. Imagine what it's doing to their relationships. Imagine what it's doing to their mental health and quality of life. And I'm just not going to let that person's bad behavior trigger bad behavior on my part. So I'm not going to descend to their level.
So what about another kind of letdown? And that is you're disappointed that something didn't go your way and you're starting to feel down and moving into depression. How can this reframe that?
Well, one of the things that Mark Goulston advises, and I encourage everybody to watch that video number 2, is to say, this is not happening to me. I'm not the victim here. This is happening for me. And it's going to help me build my resilience muscles. And it's given me a challenge that I know I'm capable of working through. Just put it in perspective. Been in combat. I've been in worse situations than this. It's actually not that big of a deal, even though it's frustrating. And I'm just going to use it in a way to make myself stronger. What works for you on that, Dee Dee?
Since being conscious of these exercises, I actually have a different perspective on every single day. I am living at a different joy level because I know now that nothing's going to come my way that is going to blindside me, that I can tackle it head on because I have a 3-step process. And it's incredibly empowering. And the last few weeks have been weeks of incredible joy. And I hope other people can get the same thing from this exercise.
And how can we find out more about the 22-day Trigger Mastery Challenge?
Go to our website. You'll find the challenge there. You'll be able to make a donation and receive your bracelet and start your journey to joy right away.
Saber6foundation.com. Go to the website. And then when you're in the challenge, get on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram pages. Jump on there. Let us know how you're doing. If you got any questions or comments, post those on our social media. Share the fact that you're doing this with other folks, and it's going to help you be even more successful.